So if you guys, let me just shut that window. It's a little bit chilly still. Right, okay. So every day I share a recipe with you guys. Today we're going to be sharing 2 recipes with you, both based on Aquafaba. So the deal is that you guys can ask me questions, but the only way I can see them is... Let me just make sure that we are good to go, that I'm not sideways, which isn't very helpful when you guys are trying to follow a recipe. So you guys can say hello, that's always nice, but you can also ask me questions. So you can ask questions about either the recipes that I'm making today, or, sorry, there you are. Let me just make sure that the sound is off, don't want to be hearing myself. Or you can ask me questions about other recipes. So, yes, I'm up there I am, and you can see my board behind us. So this gives you some information about what we're going to be doing today, and the ingredients. But I'll be talking you through all of those anyway, and also I will post a picture of them also. So, to save this video, you can just click these little dots. I can't see that actually. Here you go, click these dots, and then you can save video. So what we find with these live recipes is that a lot of people prefer to watch the recipe live, ask me questions as I go. If something isn't clear, if you want me to repeat something, then that's absolutely fine, just say. And then, if it's something that you think, yeah, I really want to make that at home, give it a go, then you can click the dots and you can save the video for later. So you can go and get the ingredients. Hopefully, you might have some of them at home as well, which is great, particularly at the moment. Then you can make it and you can play the video back whilst you make it, and that means that you guys can rewind it. You can cut out the boring bit if you want, because sometimes I do talk about food quite a lot, so you can fast forward that bit if you want, but it's really more in your hands if you do it that way. So, Ariel joined. Thank you for joining me again. It's really lovely. We're getting lots of people come back to us, and yeah, we're getting a really, really lovely group together. Ingrid, thank you for joining me. Miss you loads. Danielle, hello. Tor, really excited for today's session. So am I. And Danielle says good afternoon. Good afternoon. Right, our first recipe will be Aquafaba meringues, but just to kind of talk to you guys about what Aquafaba actually is. So Aquafaba is the water from a can of chickpeas. You can actually use water from a can of kidney beans and black beans and bolotti beans, and it still has the same properties, but the water from a can of chickpeas tends to be a bit more stable. And if you can actually find the jars of chickpeas or other beans, then the Aquafaba that you get from those jars is particularly stable, and it's really, really thick and gluey, almost like ectoplasm, which I'm not selling it if I say that, so it's not like that at all. Okay, so we've got Marie, really excited to be watching. I'm really excited that you're joining us. And Virginia, hello Virginia, thank you for joining us again. And Teresa and Karen have joined us as well. So big hello to you, all of you guys. Yes, so this has magical properties. A scientist discovered this a few years ago, and we all went Aquafaba crazy. But for a lot of people, Aquafaba can seem a bit scary. So we'll try and make it not so scary today, essentially. That's what we're trying to do. So we'll start with our meringues. I have you guys at this angle because I'd really like you to be able to see what is going on in the bowl. Gloria, hello, welcome. Yes, I would really like you guys to see what is going on in the bowl. So, a lot of the action is going to happen in here, and it's going to get noisy because we're going to be using an electric whisk, and then later on we'll be using an electric hand blender. And really, that's where the magic happens, so that's what you guys have got to look at. So, Teresa, hi. Okay, so for our meringue, so it's this list over here that we're going for. We need 6 tablespoons of Aquafaba, 5 tablespoons of sugar, 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And you can also use a colourant. I'm going to use a very, very exciting one today. And then we will bake it at 100 degrees for about an hour. And we have along here our little key, so you can see that a little T is a teaspoon, a big T is a tablespoon, a C is a cup. We're not using cups today, but that's just a good guide for people who don't know that lingo. Oh, look, I've got some rainbows. Did you see? Does that mean that you found the rainbow? So, in every live recipe we do, we always have a rainbow somewhere around, somewhere in shot. And you guys have to guess where it is, but I think that Gloria might have beaten you all to it, so. Good evening, Fee. Good evening. Where are you if it's evening? And Maria says, hello. I like the exclamation mark on the end. I'm always accused of like putting too many exclamation marks and question marks with the things that I share on social media. That's because I'm just like so excited that I need to communicate that somehow. You haven't found it yet, Gloria. Okay, you will. I'm sure you'll get it this time. Joanne, is powdered sugar, icing sugar, or caster sugar? Okay, I will take you through that as we go through the recipe. So, first of all, we need to put 6 tablespoons of Aquafaba in here. Let me just open the can a bit more. There we go, and we can just pour it directly out of the can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, put that to one side. You found it now. So where is it? I don't think we've got any kids in the show today, so you're welcome to go ahead and let me know where it is. So Dennis said, my only attempt at these meringues was still soft after 3 hours in the oven. 3 hours! Jesus, okay. Right, so going on to the sugars that we're going to be using today. So in here I have 5 tablespoons of sugar, and the sugar that I'm using is just one that I've got in the cupboard, which is this golden granulated sugar. So a few words on using sugar in meringues. I have tried to use coconut sugar in meringues because I always try to make things as healthy as possible. But the problem with something like coconut sugar is that it doesn't set very well. And white sugar is perfect for meringues because it sets really, really well. So this is, kind of in between fix. So they will set very, very well with this. That won't be a problem. Slightly healthier than white refined sugar. So, it makes me feel a little bit better. Juliet says, afternoon, love an exclamation mark. Thank you. I think I might change my name by Depol to have an exclamation mark at the end of it. So, or multiple exclamation marks, or exclamation marks and question marks. Sorry. Okay, so Gloria said that she uses that as well. Billingtons are a really, really good company. Love everything that they do. So this is the caster sugar that we're going to be using today. Now, with the powdered sugar, it is icing sugar, essentially. And recently, Billingtons, another the same favourite brand that I just mentioned, came out with this golden icing sugar, so powdered sugar. Really, really lovely product. Again, not as processed as the completely white refined stuff. So it makes me feel a little bit better about gorging myself on meringues, which I will be doing this afternoon. So we have 4 tablespoons of golden icing sugar in here. And we have this. Now, I didn't put this on the list because this is optional. So this is cream of tartar. A little top tip for you guys. I put letters on the top there because when they're in my cupboard and I can't see which bottle is which or which tub is which, then so I write it on the top so that I can see instantly. So we can use a pinch of cream of tartar in here and it just makes them a bit more stable. So literally it's just a pinch. That's all we're going to put in there. It's not essential that you use it. So, if you go in your cupboard and you find that you don't have it, then don't worry too much. You can still make the recipe, but it just makes it a bit more reliable. You can also use arrowroot in the same way. And also a bit of xanthan gum. That also helps. So maybe you guys have got that in the back of your cupboard. These tend to be things that we use once or twice, and then they just get shoved to the back. So you might have one of these. Diana, rainbow is above, click to save. Well done. Well done. Okay, found the rainbow for today. So we are going to get a bit noisy and start to whisk this. So we want the aquafaba to get to the hard peak stage. So if you haven't made meringues before, you might not be familiar with that terminology. So we have soft peak stage, and what that means is that when you take these out of the fluff that's going to be there, if the peak comes up and then flops, that's soft peak. And then if it's a bit firmer, then that might be a middle peak stage. And then when it just sticks up, it just stays exactly where it became a peak, then that's the hard peak stage. So Elizabeth said, "Hi Day, loving your videos, thank you so much." Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so let's get noisy, and I'll try to make sure that you guys can see this as much as possible. So I'm going to start on a 1, and then I'm going to progress up. And the reason why I do that is because really what we're doing with this is we are creating tiny little bubbles. And really we want to create tiny little bubbles. We don't want to create big bubbles, because if we create big bubbles, then they're going to collapse easier. And it's the same if any of you guys have been baristas, the way that you froth that foam, you know, you want to get those tiny little bubbles. You don't want big ones, you want tiny little bubbles, and that's what we're going for. So we will, good morning from New York. Love New York, I'm very jealous. There was a really amazing pizza place that I went to when I was in New York. It basically served one pizza in 4 slightly different ways, and 1 bottle of red wine and 1 bottle of white wine. Apparently it's not there anymore. It's so annoying. But yes, anyway, digress. Margaret said, "Love chickpeas otherwise, but the thought of their tasting something sweet daunts me. Doesn't the taste dominate?" No, it doesn't, because we're going to put loads of sugar in it, so basically all you're going to be able to taste is sugar, trust me. Just like avocado, chocolate mousse tastes of avocado, which classes awfully. Okay, so avocado, chocolate mousse, yes, sometimes you can still taste the avocado, I completely agree, but that really comes down to balancing those flavours, so adding other flavours that can mask it. So with something like an avocado mousse, I would say add something like of course you can add more cacao or cocoa powder, but that will make it quite bitter, so then you might have to increase the sweetness, you know, so whether that's like a syrup or whatever you put in it, you might have to increase that. But you could also do something like add some cinnamon, ginger, you know, those types of flavours to help mask it. So yeah, and you know, you just got to be careful how much avocado you put into an avocado mousse, because a lot of recipes will say 1 avocado. What's 1 avocado? 1 avocado is sometimes like this, sometimes it's like that. So, you know, you've got to be the judge of that. Okay, let's get going with this. It would help if I turned it on at the wall. There we go. Okay, just to interrupt that and quickly say, hello Brian from North Carolina. Priscilla, a Brazilian living in Ireland. Interesting mix. And Margaret, absolutely no problem, always happy to help. So, now we're at this stage, I am moving the whisk around, and that's just going to help get everything incorporated well. Let's go up a notch. So just to say that the way that the thing that you're going to be looking for is when you're turning this around, you can see patterns emerging, and the more it gets whisked, the more you get to the hard peak stage, the more those patterns will stay as they are. They won't just kind of flop. So that's what we're looking for. the hard peak stage. So I'm testing it out by, as I mentioned earlier, putting the whisk into it, taking it out, and you'll get a peak. And I can see that the peak is staying exactly where it was. It's not flopping at all, and that is what we're looking for. So just to answer a question, a very important question here from Josephine. Thank you for bringing this up. So I read that Aquafaba contains nasty chemicals, so have avoided using it. Yes, I do completely understand. I have read articles saying that it does and articles saying that it doesn't. So it's really kind of like tricky to know. I mean, to be honest, like, you know, all Aquafaba really is water and chickpeas, and actually the protein bonds from the chickpeas go into the water. I always use organic as well, and I figure that, you know, any nasty chemicals that other companies might be using that are non-organic, organic companies wouldn't. So on here it says organic chickpeas water and an antioxidant, which is ascorbic acid, which is a natural thing anyway. But I would say if you are worried about it, then do more research and see, you know, what you feel comfortable with. You know, this is something that don't necessarily eat every day. There are other recipes that we actually use Aquafaba for at the school, like our pasta and stuff like that, but it is in small quantities. But I think with any ingredient, you can probably find information on the internet saying that it's bad for you. So difficult to know, but you know, yeah, you've got to be the judge of that. So do research that if that's an issue for you. Okay, and you can actually, if you are worried about what goes into the cans, that's a very good point, Nizzy. Thank you for mentioning that. You can just make it yourself. So you can get some dried chickpeas and soak them and then boil them, and then you can use that water. So you know that there's nothing, you know, extra that they're putting in there, and you know, that will make you feel a bit better. So yes, so let's get on to this. Let's see if it's still holding its shape. Lovely. Of course, you know the trick with this is to hold it over your head and see if it flops. I'm not sure I'm brave enough to do that. Okay, I'll do it really, really quickly. Okay. Whew. Right, danger move over for the day. Right, let's get on to this. And we have a few more comments. I've just got to tap this so that I can see more of them. There we go. How long can you keep Aquafaba in the fridge before using it? Very good question. I actually keep my Aquafaba in the freezer. So if you can use like an ice cube tray or something like that. I used to have the best ice cube tray that literally each of the cubes was 1 tablespoon, which was perfect, because if you're ever doing a recipe like this, you just fill them around, you needed to get 6 of them out, which is brilliant. The only thing with that is that if you are going to use ice cube trays, tell the other people in your house that is what is in the ice cube trays, because, you know, that could go horribly wrong. Can you freeze Aquafaba? Yes, exactly. So let's get on to the next bit of this. And now we will start adding our sugar, but we're going to be adding a little bit at a time, so about 1 tablespoon at a time, but I'm just going to judge this by eye. If you've got someone who can help you, then you can get them to do it. I'm kind of used to doing it by myself anyway, but if you start, then, you know, having an extra set of hands would help. I think I got a bit of Aquafaba in my eye, which is always nice. Okay, and now onto our powdered sugar. One thing to say about the powdered sugar is if you add it directly into the whisks, as the whisks are going, you're going to get a face full of powdered sugar. So try not to do that. Try to make the powdered sugar hit the area where the whisk isn't. Try. Is that the 9 tablespoons of sugar together in the same bowl? No, babe, they're in separate bowls. So first of all, I started with the golden granulated sugar and put the 5 tablespoons of the golden granulated sugar in. And then I moved on to the icing sugar. So you do them separately. So now we'll add the powdered sugar, little bit by little bit, put it onto the lowest setting. Okay, so as you are whisking it, you will feel that it will get stiffer and there'll be more resistance there. And so that's the sugar combining and just making it more of like a solid mixture. It's not just fluff anymore. Although actually, this is very, very similar to marshmallow fluff. So if any of my American viewers, I'm sure that you guys know what that is. So you know that's what it looks like. You know, very sugary. And very thick now. So just tap these off and get rid of that. And now it comes to the point of piping. So there is something that I really, really wanted to share with you guys because I absolutely love this bit of kit that I've recently discovered. So this is a reusable baking sheet. I know, amazing. I cannot believe that I lived so long without having one of these in my life. So, reusable baking sheet, which is obviously great that we're not wasting stuff, and you know, it's completely non-stick as well. I absolutely love it. I've got a few of these, and in fact I've got one that is for a loaf tin as well, so it's cut in the right way that you can put it into a loaf tin and then you can just reuse it. And I actually use that for my cake bases as well. So really, really good bit of kit here. So now we come to the point of piping, and we're going to use another bit of really, really high-tech equipment here, which is my piping bag. So this is our DIY poor man's piping bag. You can use any plastic bag. We try to reuse these things as much as possible. If you're going to use a plastic bag for a piping bag, it does need to have a good corner on it here. And so I've already cut this because I've made some earlier today, which are doing very well in the oven there. So in our piping bag, I want to add a little bit of colour. Oh, Dennis said getting into the piping thingy and squeezing it out the right end was a challenge too. Some of it came out where it went in over my hands. Yes, that is one thing to be really, really careful about. You know, so it's good if you have quite a big bag rather than a small one, or you know, if it is a bit too small, then just do it in parts. So you know, do like a quarter of it and pipe it out and then wash it out, and you know, it is a bit of a pain, but yeah, it's horrible when it comes out the wrong end. Okay, so Virginia asks, is that the sheet? So yes, this is the reusable baking sheet that I just mentioned, and now we're going to add a bit of colour. So this is our Spira colour that you can buy from them directly. So it is a blue colourant and it's made with algae. So most blue colourants are actually made with either animals or petroleum. So this is a really, really great alternative. Really, really lovely colour. Actually, let's see if I can show you guys. I don't know if you can see that. It's a really strong, vibrant blue. Any of you guys who are into art as much as I am out there, if you know Yves Klein's work, it looks like that. It is so, so beautiful. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in there, and I'll show you if you can see that. And then we spoon some of this. So you need a really big spoon to be able to do this. And again, you know, if you've got someone that can help you the first time you do this, that's going to be much better, much better. Okay, and then carefully get this top bit all together. Just make sure you've got a really firm grip on that. And now we can go to piping. So piping technique is something that you'll get the knack of the more that you do it. But I think that for the type of shape that I like, I tend to press down, squirt it out, keep pressing down, and then come up. Because what happens, if you guys can see this, I'll do one right in the middle. If you start piping out and then come up, you end up with that. Which might be what you're looking for, isn't necessarily what I would look for. It would make a really cute gnome hat. It would make a really cute gnome hat. But it isn't what I look for. I look for more kind of, you know, flat meringues. So if I want a flat meringue, then I keep the piping bag quite close to the tray, pipe, and then only then lift it up. So keeping it close and then bringing it up. Keeping it close and then bringing it up. I'm not moving at all until that very, very last bit, and that's when I stop piping. So you can play around with that and, you know, do different shapes and that type of thing. You can do very, very small, tiny ones, which I think look like Hershey's Kisses. I think from my very, very foggy memory of going to Florida when I was 4 years old. But yes, and we can make a pavlova with them, you know, that type of thing. So I'm going to show you the ones I've been making. Here we go. So these are the meringues that are in the oven at the moment, with our lovely Spira on them. So they're a really, really bright blue colour, which is really fun. And just to say that if you have ones that are different sizes, then it's likely that the smaller ones will need to be taken out of the oven before the bigger ones. So you can just literally take these off and put them to one side and then let the others cook. So now we're done on our meringues. So if you've got any quick questions about the meringues, then do let me know. I think that these are nearly done. We've got about another 10 minutes, I reckon, with those. So that is our meringues, and we're going to speed on to another quick recipe because, sorry, it's really nice. Doesn't taste of algae either. That stuff does not taste of algae. It's really, really lovely. So on to another quick recipe. Is there a limit to the size you would do in height or width? So with the meringues, no, not really. You just need to factor in how big or wide that is, and how much time it's going to have in the oven. So I do recommend that with something like this, where the temperature is very, very important, that you use an oven temperature gauge. Oven temperature gauges, you can buy them from Amazon for like £4, something like that, and I really, really recommend it because no oven is exactly the temperature that it says it is. They're all liars. Okay, so how long do they go into the oven, and where is the blue stuff from? So they go into the oven for about an hour, but of course that depends on how big or small they are, but an hour as a rule, and then you can give them a feel. And you'll feel when they're a bit more solid, and when they're baked, and then they can come out of the oven. This is from a company called Spira, which is spelled S-P-I-R-A. So you can Google them and you'll be able to find them fairly easily. And so yeah, I bought a sample pack online, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Okay, now onto a really quick mayonnaise recipe. So I wanted to do this to show you guys one sweet recipe with Aquafaba and one savoury recipe with Aquafaba. So let me just get my ingredients. So we have some mayonnaise here and some lemon juice. We have lots of different types of oils that we could use. So really, when you're making a mayonnaise, it's up to you guys how you want it to taste. And you can really play around with the different flavours depending on what oils you use. So here we've got a walnut oil. Walnut mayonnaise is divine, but I would say, use it half and half. So use a walnut oil and a sunflower oil, which doesn't have any flavour at all, otherwise the walnut is just going to be too strong. And the same with using olive oil as well. If you just use olive oil, then it can be a bit too bitter, so it's better to play around with those amounts. So here we say 180 ml of oil, but you could do 90 ml of one and 90 ml of another. Or, if the olive oil that you've got is still too bitter, then you can reduce the amount in the recipe. So again, it's a really, really flexible recipe. So you don't need to leave them in the oven until completely cool. Right, okay, sorry, just going back to our meringue recipe. That is a very, very good point. When the hour is up, or when you think that they are done, you can just leave them in the oven. So you can turn them off and leave them in the oven. With the really tiny ones, they're fine just to come out. But with the bigger ones, it's better just to leave them in the oven until it's completely cool and then take them out. Otherwise, they can go a bit weird. Right. Okay. So on to our meringue. Onto our mayonnaise recipe even. So we're going to start with our Aquafaba, of course, and we've got what's left over from here. So we only need 3 tablespoons of Aquafaba in here. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Rapeseed oil, is that okay to use? Well, that's a very, very good point. So we've got rapeseed oil here, and as you will be able to see, it's very yellow. So if you want a mayonnaise that is going to look a bit more eggy, then this is a really, really good one to go for. Again, you can use it with a sunflower oil, or you can use it on its own, and just be mindful of the fact that if you have it on its own, it is going to be quite bright yellow, which might be okay for you. You might be absolutely fine with that. So added to our Aquafaba, we're going to add 1. Okay, that really did go in my face this time. Am I? Wow. Okay, so we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. It's part of the life though, part of the danger of being a chef, getting some citrus in your eye. Okay, right, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I am actually crying now. So we'll just put this into our tablespoon measure. There we go, and I'll fish out the seeds. There we go, and then that can go in. And added to that, we'll add half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, but that is something that you can change if you want. You can use whole grain, you can add more as well. I'm a really, really, really big fan of mustard, so I tend to put a lot of it in everything, and a little bit of salt. That is to taste as well, depends how much salt you like to have in your food. And then we need to decide which of the oils that we want to use. So I think for this one, I'm going to go half and half with some olive oil. So we're going to add about 90 ml of the olive oil, and the rest we'll do with sunflower oil. So we'll be able to get that olive oil flavour, but it won't be so overpowering. There we go, that's 90 ml. Yeah, it won't be so overpowering and it won't have that bitterness to it that olive oil has. So we'll just add our sunflower oil here. Bring it up to, what is it, 180 ml. Just going to leave it a bit shy of 180 ml because I want to add a bit of this to it. So this is yummy white truffle oil. You only will need a little bit of this in there, which is a good thing because it is a really expensive ingredient. So we're just going to pop a tiny amount of it in there and just bring it up to 180 ml. So let's pop these away so you can see all of those ingredients behind there. Now it's time for us being noisy again. Okay, so when I make mayonnaise, I always start it off and make it nice and frothy, and then I start adding the oil. So if any of you guys have made non-vegan mayonnaise, you'll know that when you add the oil, you have to do it excruciatingly slow. But with this recipe, you don't. You still have to do it in parts, but not as painstakingly slow. So don't worry about that too much. And I'm going to use the edge of here, so I'm going to drip it along the stalk of the blender. You might get to this stage and worry that it's not going to thicken, but really it's in the final stages that it thickens. Can hear that, but the blender, it sounds different now, and so that's because this is actually starting to thicken. I'm moving the blender around the bowl just to catch all of that oil. Well, thick and exactly what we're looking for. So let me get a spoon and show you. So it's this, it's that we're looking for, right? If any of you guys remember the old Hellmann's mayonnaise advert, it was that dollop. You know, that's the consistency that we're looking for, and it's got the flavour of it as well, because it's got that tartness, it's got, you know, the sourness of the lemon juice, and it's got the lovely mustard flavour in it as well. So, and the truffle oil is really lovely in it. Really, really nice. Really nice. Okay, so I fear that I may have missed some of the questions there. So do pop your question in again if it's something, you know, burning that you want to ask me. If they're just comments saying how delicious it looks, then that's fine. You don't need to repeat that. I'll just have a look at those later. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed these Aquafaba recipes. As I said, you know, these are recipes that aren't that difficult, so don't be scared of Aquafaba. There are so many great ways of using it. You know, we've got this savoury method today, but we've also got this sweet method. So these are now good to go. I'm just going to leave them in the oven. I turned the oven off whilst we were doing that. And I'm just going to let them sit for a while and cool down completely. And so, yeah. They're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. Like they're from another planet. But that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. So just pop those back in. So, thank you for joining me. Please do let me know if you've got any requests. We are today's recipes were because somebody wanted to know a couple of recipes with Aquafaba. So I do listen to those things, and I will make recipes specifically for you if there's something, you know, that you want me to make. If there's an ingredient that you've got at the back of the cupboard that you have no idea what to do with, then let me know. Virginia said, where do you get your truffle oil from? My boyfriend gave it me for my birthdays. Or was it Valentine's Day? I don't remember, because my birthday is one day after Valentine's Day, so I don't remember which one it was. But I don't know where he got it from, but I can tell you what the make is. So it's Inter Gourmandise. There we go, if you guys can see that. It's a really, really lovely white truffle oil. It actually came in a pack, so I had white truffle oil and black truffle oil together, which is obviously awesome. So I'll take a picture of that and I'll put that into the comments as well, so that you can see which make that is. But it's very, very lovely. As I said, you don't need very much at all. And you know, on the note of truffles, if it is a truffle oil that is reasonably priced, it's going to be vegan. It's only the truffles that cost like £1,000 for like a truffle like that. They're the ones that are found using pigs, so technically they wouldn't be vegan, but 99% of all truffles are actually just grown in factories, and they're the ones that are used for something like this, so if that's a factor for you. So Elizabeth said quinoa recipes would be great, as I don't use it as much as perhaps I should. Great, that's a really, really a great suggestion. We would definitely do that. So please do keep asking me questions, making your requests, and join our community hub. So we recently set up a Facebook group for our people. Basically, all the vegan foodies out there that want to share their recipes, they want to share the recipes that they've made from us. We've had a lot of people sharing their photos. So if you click the Learn More button on this page, you'll be taken to the community hub and you can join our very merry band of vegan foodies. So thank you for joining me today. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you tomorrow.